Alright everybody, welcome back to yet another Friday Night Magic from Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. My name is Zachary Evans, and we bring you tonight's event. We should have 4 rounds of standard action tonight. I'll get confirmation on that a little bit later. 23 runners, slightly down from our normal numbers, but it is the tail end of standard season, and the weather is pretty nice out there. So, let's talk about your round 1 matchup already in progress. On the left, Brian Grose playing an interesting... well, I wanted to say, oh no, it's not. I was completely wrong. He was just testing with a different deck before we started out. So he's playing Bug Aggro. If you saw this deck last week in our winning in round, it's got some interesting cards: Young Wolf, Strangleroot Geist, Rapid Hybridization, Snapcaster Mage, and then Duskmantle Seer. It has a lot of interesting interactions that you'll see as we go on through the match. See a Young Wolf followed up by Strangleroot Geist, knocking Drew all the way down to 17. And then Drew is playing a pretty stock Grixis control list, so all the counters and burn spells for removal. I think he's playing Olivia's, and his top end is Nicole Bolas Planeswalker. So if you haven't seen this, as we see Brian with a very aggressive draw here, these Strangleroot Geist can be very difficult for Drew to handle. Already down to 12. See a Mutilate here, or an Olivia. It is Olivia. Might not be enough in this case. But yeah, this deck from Brian's pretty interesting. It does have Rancors. It has, as you can see, Abrupt Decays, Demure Charm, and then Snapcasters to get them all back. The old three Strangleroot draw is a pretty tough one to beat. And I apologize for the camera shake. If you followed us on our Facebook page, you'll know that a couple weeks ago, the store actually expanded a little bit and did some remodeling. And as a result of that, where we normally have our feature match area has been changed. So I've actually got I have to set the camera on the same table as the players. And these guys are being pretty rough with the table, which is resulting in a lot of camera shake. So I apologize about that, but there's not a lot I can do about that. So we're going to see Magma Quake come down, attempting to clear the board, but Spell Rupture is going to basically be a mana leak, since Brian does have a 3-power dude here. Brian attacking for 8 damage. It is a lethal attack. Obviously Drew can block one of them. He's going to trade with the front half of a second Strangleroot Geist and take 6 down to 1. So kind of in a spot here. Luckily Drew hasn't missed any land drops, but one Strangleroot Geist is hard enough to deal with. An entire grip of them is even more difficult for the control deck to deal with. He can, and also the Young Wolf having Undying is not irrelevant here. You might be surprised to see the Young Wolf, but it does have a lot of synergy with the rest of the deck. It is a 1-drop. It does have Undying, so it can come back. It carries a Rancor just as well as anything else. And it has a very interesting interaction with the card Rapid Hybridization, so you can end of turn Rapid Hybridization your own Young Wolf, get a 2/2, get a 3/3 from the hybridization, and so and all these things can be Snapcastered back. So a lot of shenanigans possible with this deck. And then the high end is Duskmantle Seer on 4, which is both a win condition through attacking and a win condition from reverse Dark Confidant triggers on your opponent during your draw step. So Drew choosing the Dreadbore, one of the Strangleroot Geist that already had a counter on it. So facing down still a lethal attack here, but he can use Olivia to ping the 2 1-power guys and block the 3rd, so he will not die from these attacks. That's exactly what he does here. So both creatures will come back from Undying, and he will lose. Well, he won't lose his Olivia because it will go up to a 5-power creature. will eat that Strangler Geist mid blocks. Let's see what Brian's got in his hand. He's got a Duskmantle Seer, which seems to be the answer here, because Drew cannot get rid of the Duskmantle Seer with the Olivia's activation. Oh, he chooses not to play anything here, so he might be Snapcastering something back. End of turn. Drew obviously cannot afford to attack here, as he can't get rid of the 4 toughness worth of creatures that Brian's showing. The patented Drew Scherr hand shuffle. Excuse me. Dreadboard taking out the undead Strangleroot Geist. Of course, chat pointing out that he can, before combat, use Olivia's other ability to steal one of the creatures. Chat already talking about some of the newly spoiled cards, which we will definitely start talking about here in between rounds. But in game, we see Brian land a Duskmantle Seer. I guess Drew deciding if he wants to counter it. I'm not sure what kind of counter magic he does run. It does resolve. So Drew, unless he can get rid of that Duskmantle Seer, is dead to the top of his deck. In most cases, it does have to be a land. Everything else will kill him. Counting up mana, never a good sign for your opponent. Mizium Mortars on the Duskmantle Seer. Brian being tapped out, that will resolve. So that staves off that threat for another turn. It'll be very interesting if Drew can stabilize at 1 life as the Warhammer players start tearing up the shop. So Brian has an Abrupt Decay, which is mostly dead in this matchup. I believe another Spell Rupture. Demir Charm, which he's going to do main phase. Choosing the look at 3 cards, put 2 in the graveyard and 1 on top of your library mode. No, it doesn't. Put on the top of your library. Is it draw it or put it on top of the library, right? Yeah. No, that's fine. Don't apologize. Yeah. So some card filtering here as Brian looks for an answer. Drew going to use Olivia to take out the last creature. Did you put the counters on him? Did you put the counters on Olivia? Yeah, the chat, for those of you in the chat wondering, he did put the card back on top, so that's not an issue. You got that corrected. And there is Jace, Architect of Thought. So Drew has a choice here. He can go digging for more business or preemptively up Jace. Brian's deck does have the capability of killing a Planeswalker. You're going to cycle a Think Twice as well. So Brian unfortunately stalling out here, not playing any direct damage spells. And this looks like Nicole Bolas. No, we're activating the Factor Fiction. Dissipate, Searing Spear, Ultimate Price. So Brian will choose some piles here. Looks like Counterspell or no. Seems like a fair chop at this point. Question in the chat whether or not the bug list plays any removal that can get rid of Olivia. I'm not sure about his exact list. I know this is a list from one of the daily MTG articles. Breeding Pool tapped. So Brian stuck, unfortunately, with a bunch of dead cards in his hand for this particular matchup. So it looks like Drew is going to be able to stabilize at just 1 life. End of turn, he's going to flashback the back half of Think Twice and cast Forbidden Alchemy. You should have this game well in hand here. Getting rid of a Mortars, a land, and a Think Twice. And the chat also pointing out that he does run Rapid Hybridization, which would get rid of the Olivia. You'd think, since I mentioned that multiple times previously, I would have thought about that, and that should be the game. That's 7 of 5 is 12. Nope, knocks Brian down to 1. Nope, maybe I had my math wrong. I can't see the die on that. But that is game 1. It is very quiet out there, so I have to be relatively quiet in here, as these guys are not so far away that they couldn't hear me if I just started blabbing. So, very interesting game as Drew manages to stabilize at just 1 life. And we'll take this time, like we do every week, to thank the fine folks here at Lost Legion Games and Comics. For those of you who've been watching since the inception of this stream, you'll know that these fine folks let us hijack their store every week, put up our equipment, and stream FNM live for you, so we appreciate their hospitality. Lost Legion has 4 locations in West Virginia, in Parkersburg, Princeton, Beckley, and here in South Charleston. If you're ever in the greater West Virginia area, if you're ever traveling through, as we do, lie on 3 major interstates. You gotta drive through here to get to a lot of places. So if you're ever in the area, make sure you support the store. And if we ever have any large events, make sure you keep up to date on those. Make the trip. 6:30 p.m. Eastern every week, we stream live Friday Night Magic action, usually standard with drafts around release. And with Dragon Maze coming up, we'll be having some of those at the end of the month. If you're watching live now, obviously twitch.tv/ZachSellsMagic is the website, but if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, try to come watch us live sometime. If you can't make your FNM, come watch ours. So pretty interesting match there. As round 1, as these guys do move to the sideboards, we'll talk a little bit more about what we got going on tonight. Like I said, 23 people here, so 1 bye and 12 other matches going on. A lot of the regulars are not here. Neither of the Wright brothers are here. Brandon Hart, I know, is working tonight. Then a few of the other regulars are not here. But Yin is here playing Jund Control. Garrett's here playing Esper. Max Turner's here playing Blue-Black Control. Brandon Gibbs and Cliff Markham are both here. Ian Streggy's here playing Bant Midrange. Joseph Deal is here playing Bant Delver. And Michael Taylor's here playing what I assume is the Gruul Aggro Tomoharu Saito deck. So like I said, once we get through the first round here, once all the action is over, we will take some time to talk about Dragons and Maze spoilers. This is the first full week of spoiler season. There have been some doozies spoiled already, so it should be pretty interesting to check out. We've been talking about them a lot this week on our Facebook page, facebook.com/ZachSellsMagic. There is a link to that at the bottom of the stream page. You can check that out, but a lot of interesting cards that we'll talk about when we get a chance. So stay tuned for that. Particularly, I'm a big fan of the card spoiled yesterday, which I believe is called Obsidat's Aid, which is a black and white card that returns target permanent to the battlefield. And the word permanent is very exciting to see on a Magic card. Remember, we do have Dragon's Maze. I believe looking at the calendar, I believe Dragon's Maze pre-release. My phone is dead, so good game me on that. But I think Dragon's Maze pre-release is on the 27th and 28th worldwide, with the release coming the following Friday night or Thursday night, and then into Friday. So we are less than a month away, removed from a new standard format and a new limited environment, so it should be pretty exciting. It's actually kind of common that we see this kind of drop-off in FNM attendance at the tail end of any standard season. We actually saw that at the last season as well. There after the holidays in January, went from 40, 45, and 50 on average to FNM down to 25, 30, and 35. Looks like we're seeing the same kind of effect, but don't worry, new cards will be coming out shortly. So Brian's going to be on the play here, as he did lose game one to a very fortunate series of draws from Drew and a lack of business out of Brian's deck. So we'll see what he can muster in game two. Looks like Drew is sending back his opening 7 for a fresh 6, but Brian is in fact keeping his opening hand. What's going on in the chat? Well, I see that the chat is now being occupied mostly by people who should be here playing Magic. So that's very interesting. Yeah, we didn't talk about some of the new mechanics that we're seeing in Dragon's Maze, specifically talking about the return of split cards. Haven't seen them since the last Ravnica block and then before, and I believe it was Invasion block, but they have returned with the new keyword Fuse, which lets you cast both halves of a split card if you so choose. Drew somehow playing a land, not realizing that he is not in fact on the play. So Brian starts off with a turn 1 experiment 1, which is a pretty good start from Brian's deck. He doesn't have a ton of 1-drops, it's just those on the Young Wolf, and the experiment 1 a lot better than the Young Wolf. So if we see a Strangled Geist here, this is a really good opening. No, it's Simic Guildmage, which actually has a lot of synergy in this deck. He only plays 2 of them, I think, but they let you remove some counters to draw some cards, so you have some late game reach. It also lets you put extra counters on creatures as they come into play, which is a good mana sink in the late game. And it's a full art pre-release promo card, or a game day promo card, so can't go wrong there. There is a Strangled Geist. We are going to see some kind of business here. Devour Flesh? No, Searing Spear. Searing Spear. Likely going to take out either the Experiment or the Guildmage. Probably want to take out the Experiment, I would think, so that it can't regenerate later. In response, Rapid Hybridization on his own Experiment 1. So basically working as a counterspell there. Trading out his 2/2 for a 3/3, and the 3/3 is a Frog Lizard, so I really feel like it's much bigger than the 3/3. Thematically speaking, at least, it's a Frog Lizard. Seems like a blowout. So Drew passes back, plays a land tapped. This mana's a little bit rough there. Dragmangler, 3/3 with haste, piling in for 10 damage. Drew all the way down to 4 as he untaps for his 4th turn, staring down lethal on board. He does have Mutilate mana up now, but Mutilate is only good for basically an Electrickery, as he only has 1 legitimate swamp. So Drew mulling over his options here, likely does not have a lot, and chooses to enter the scoop phase. So there you see the power of Brian's deck, as we're now buoyed by, now buoyed by Jarrett Fletos. Jarrett, you are playing it tonight. You are playing an Esper Control deck. Yeah. Different in build from last week's Esper Control deck.
Correct.
This week you are playing lots of Miracles. Both the kind that get rid of creatures and the kind that let you take extra turns. How did your round 1 go?
Well, game 1 against humans, I chose 0 sweepers in like 12 turns. Yeah, lost. Just absolutely no way to punish him from main phase 1, playing out creatures and then attacking. Fun stuff. Game 2, after like 15 turns, never saw a Sphinx Revelation. 4 of those So I quickly lost 2-0.
Well, that'll happen sometimes.
That's,
If you can't win them all,
I'd like to.
you can't hope to win them all.
I'd like to hope that I could, draw my 4-0s.
Oh
My
well.
6-0s. Really frustrating.
So Jordan in the chat pointing out an interesting play where Brian could have, in response to that Searing Spear, blown up his Strangleroot Geist, making it a 3/3, getting the token from the Rapid Hybridization back, which would trigger Experiment 1,
Yeah.
which would give it 2 counters, which you could then remove both of to regenerate for maximum blowouts, which is probably correct. So good on you, Jordan, for noticing that one. Now's the portion of the game where Brian likes to use his iPad. So for your benefit, Garrett, even though you were sitting, there's 27 minutes remaining in the round. Which I will now update. You were sitting at table 1, so you might have seen, but we've got Brian Grose playing the Bug Aggro deck that you played last week, I believe.
Right.
Playing against Drew Scherr, who's playing his Grixis control deck. Game 1, Brian got Drew down to 1 life off the back of a 3 Strangleroot Geist draw. Drew then stabilized, cleared the board, and won with Livia.
That's what Livia does.
That will happen. Well, it was a long shot, but he got there.
How did Livia stayed around against a 4 Rapid Hybridization deck?
Because he didn't have any of them. The same way humans beat you when you don't draw the right card for it.
You also forgot that he had a Slayer Stronghold for like 10 turns. I felt really good losing that.
And then in game 2, Brian won on his turn 5 with just massive beatdowns, which the highlight of which was the in response to your Searing Spear, Rapid Hybridization, my own dude.
Right. And he seems to do that a lot.
Well, that's very advantageous.
Right.
1 mana, instant speed, 3/3s in his deck are pretty good.
I just run Pognify and put a Sharpie Rapid Hybridization.
Yes. I often ask in the Modern tournament if I can just play like my Badlands as a proxy of the Blood Crypt, which I think should be allowed. So draw go from both players, which obviously is going to benefit Drew more than it's going to benefit Brian. So Experiment 1 comes down on Brian's turn 2 and meets an ultimate price from Drew. I was telling the guys, we've got the camera set on the same table now with the remodel, and last week didn't have any issues with it, and this week the camera has not stopped bouncing around. I think it might just be a function of the players at the table.
Right.
Turn 3 Strangleroot Geist is a charm. It's going to eat the front half of it, choosing the 2 damage to target creature, which will set up for future mutilates or whatnot. There is Drown Yard from Drew, so he does have Drown Yard online, though it would be very unlikely that this is the kind of matchup where Drown Yard is going to make the difference.
The chat pointing out that you're still 4.
Well, that's because I'm bad at what I do.
That is a Jace AOT.
Jace, Architect of Thoughts. Gotta up him here, right? And pray that he survives the attack.
I don't know. Depends on what you got in your hand.
Good point.
I like that answer.
It's like a politician's answer.
Well, he obviously upped him. So that's
or possibly chose not to use him, which is clearly I'm going to go ahead and recommend you don't do that. But Brian did not play a forest land, so it means his hand is all business here.
Or all 4 drops.
Well, he only plays he does play all 4 Duskmantle Seers, but seems like a very unlikely set of circumstances.
Yeah.
Another Strangleroot Geist.
That one was off the top. So 2, and a 1/1.
Mm-hmm.
So Jace is now at 2.
Jace is at 2. Drew using his patented draw my card, then untap my lands. It's one of his favorite plays. Tapping 2, we're going to burn something here. Dreadbore on the...
So Brian walking away from this First Stranger, guys. 2 for 1-ing Drew.
Yeah.
It's a charm and a treadboard.
There's no way Drew's deck can answer that without 2 for 1-ing itself, though. Like, it's just the worst card that he could see.
I've seen some Jund decks pick up Geist Flame.
Yeah, but that's a very expensive answer.
Zamek Guildmage is really going to undo all the 1-for-1 removal that Drew has. Because if he tries to burn, well, I guess you can just burn the Guildmage. Very careful with this. Grixis probably does play Pillar.
I don't know if he has Pillar or not. I would not assume that because we haven't seen Pillar that he's not playing it. But we have not seen Pillar, so he might not be playing it. There's a period of time where Pillar was not very good, and also in like very like high level Magic, you don't see a lot of Pillars, at least right now, because
Zombies isn't around.
Zombies isn't around. Strangleroot is not really that popular right now.
Giraffe Messenger.
And Champion of the Parish is actually not that popular.
Right.
Because those Blitz decks, I mean, they play it, but
it's one of 30 different threats they can play.
So this poor Strangleroot guy's going it alone here, trying to take out this Jace. It got Is It Charmed.
Okay. So that's good. I mean, Is It Charmed is just card disadvantage for Drew, so.
Drew has not missed a land drop this entire game, I don't believe. Which is very important for the Jund deck, or Grixis deck.
We're going to hybridize our Strangleroot guys in the turn. So now we have 4 power to come out of that Jace. So I believe we're still at 3?
Yep. And he just drew, I believe, a Spell Rupture, which is going to be useless here. Searing Spear. Do we have Simic Charm? Hold on. I guess he's just choosing not to pay. Right. Is it the biggest creature?
Right.
So it would be 3.
Right.
He could have paid it.
He could have paid it.
But he's choosing instead just to activate his Drown Yard?
I guess.
Maybe he has another Jace in hand?
Or maybe he just...
Maybe he just
fell victim to Brian shenanigans.
Maybe he just didn't read Spell Rupture.
Right. That's a Searing Spear.
That one works.
Taste it.
Taste the rainbow. Taste the rainbow.
That's a Chapin line.
But now Drew is hellbent. I'll be very curious to ask.
Top decks are a lot better than.
Yeah, especially with 7 mana on board. I'll be very Dustmantle Seer. How long do I have to wait before I see a Dustmantle Seer activation kill a player? That's what I want to see.
Well, so Drew's
last week it almost killed you, but you flipped the land.
Right.
No, we're not actively cheering against you, but is that Bolus? What's this like? How you like me now?
Good thing he drew that this turn instead of
previously Drew was forcing Brian to taste the rainbow. Although I think we might have been presumptuous because I believe now he is tasting the rainbow. You steal the Dustmantle Seer, right?
Yep.
And then you pray to draw a Rancor to get rid of Bolus here.
I guess.
Like if Bolus ups.
Oh, it's 1-1. I was about to say. I just go ahead and go to game 3 here, but.
Yeah, there isn't that. Well, I guarantee you there's only one Bolus in Drew's deck.
We'll block.
You will block.
I will Simic Charm my guy. Was that a right bid? What was that?
It was a Tragic Slip.
Yeah.
Tragic Slip taking out the Dustmantle Seer post-combat.
So now we get to start blowing up lands?
Yep.
On the 4-mana cost guy?
Yep.
Or the 4-mana...
So he's showing a Hinterland Harbor, a Woodland Cemetery, and 2 blue-black lands. So you take out the cemetery.
Yeah, you just go for the green.
How you like me now?
Signaling that he has no more Dustmantle Seers in his hand.
And this looks like Brian decided in Ground Seals. Seemed fine. He had some dead cards. Like he had Abrupt Decay in his main. Like that's awful against.
Oh, I guess he has Snapcaster. That's why you're saying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's why he was digging for the Ground Seal.
Ground Seal shuts off his own Snapcasters.
Yeah. Demir Charm, main phase. And passes back. Drown you for the rub-ins.
How's that Demir Charm? What card you keep on top?
But I think Brian mostly forgets that you can play that. In the first game, he put it into his hand and we had to correct it.
Right.
I think he's just unfamiliar with that mode.
That's fine.
I think he's mostly just using it as a removal spell.
Right.
Which I think the majority of people are probably using it for. There's a Rancor. A little bit too little, too late.
Rancor the Bolus.
I'm trying to think of any answers Brian might have that aren't just creatures piling in. But Bolus is going to ultimate next
Does he have Cyclonic Rift?
He might. That seems like... No, it's right. Takes out the black source, right?
I'd finish taking out the green. You know he plays Young Wolves.
Oh yeah, he did. I don't understand why he didn't take that out. But this game is over because Drew's going to ultimate Bolus now.
Yep. Annihilator 6. Here we come.
Annihilator your board. It's 7 permanents.
Annihilator 7.
7, 7, 7. Discard your hand.
Why am I going to go sport?
Take 7 damage. Well, I mean, it goes that way sometimes.
What you get, Dream Crush McGee?
Oh, he was drawn live.
Bullshit.
Garrett, a little salty from last week because Brian made him play the last round and then beat him. And then didn't make the top 8. Even though a 2-2 did make the top 8 last week. Some would say, Garrett, that if you want to avoid this situation in the future, you should win.
That's right.
That's the sickest of burns.
I should also, I don't know. My draws in the
Good
past...
comeback.
My draws in the past 2 matches of tournament Magic that I played have been absolutely terrible. So
You want to talk about some spoilers?
I do.
Let's go ahead and start piling through some spoilers. What's better, to do the spoilers on the big screen in between, or to do it on the little screen with the big blow up?
I like the big screen in between because it rhymed.
All right. Well, let's get in here to some spoilers in no particular order. And I don't have all of them, so we'll have to... Let's start here. We're just going alphabetical, or at least alphabetical if they are saved in my computer.
All right.
Let's talk about this bad boy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like this card a lot. I'm willing to admit that there are cards that I will like way more than they are good.
Yeah, I don't think it's that great.
I don't like... it's a... First of all, let's look at it on a lot of different levels.
Right.
Based entirely on the fact that it makes a creature.
Uh-huh.
It makes a 5/5 creature for 4 mana.
Right.
Which in and of itself is pretty good. I know in the modern Magic that's not as impressive as it used to be, but still pretty solid.
So in Modern it'd be awesome because you have Webleaf Leech.
It has Trample. Which I think I didn't realize the first time through.
Right.
It's just so strong to have Trample on this guy. It's an instant speed.
Right.
In a format where Snapcaster is illegal.
Right.
The first deck I can imagine it going into, and to be fair, it's somewhat biased because Joseph Deal has played Bant Delver the last couple weeks. But that Bant Delver deck, I think, would love a couple copies of this, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
He plays enough mana that it wouldn't matter, but just like end of turn, it flips your Delvers, end of turn, flash in this guy. If this card wasn't an instant and it just said like 5/5 trample for 4 with flash, would that be good enough?
No,
What's the chat?
Yeah, it would be a lot better because it's not a token. Mm-hmm. Being a token in a format where Azorius Charm is really prevalent is largely ability.
I don't know. I can't help but think this is a card that will see some standard play, but I'm fully willing to admit that I will just wait until Patrick Chapin tells me if it's good or not.
Right.
And then if it is. Has he reviewed this card yet?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's really good.
It's good. I don't know if it's something to get excited over. They like Flavor Doomsayer's good.
Yeah, I just get caught up in the idea that you can flash it back, and I understand it's a very specific deck. And someone will know, we discussed this on our Facebook page this week, and one guy brought up the fact that the mana is really rough on this. But we actually discussed this earlier. First of all, we're playing with Ravnica's Shocklands,
right,
which make it
with Farseek.
Everyone's playing 4-color everything. So yeah, that's not too bad. Plus it's double green. And that makes a huge difference, because double green is the easiest one to get.
There's Avacyn Pilgrim.
I just imagine this going into that Bant Delver deck, or possibly showing up in a green-white beatdown deck, which we get into some other creatures.
Junk Tokens.
Those guys are really loud.
Yeah. Junk Tokens.
It's always the one guy too, if you'll notice. When he's here, they're really loud.
Jump tokens was a very prevalent deck right around release of Return to Ravnica.
Yeah, and if you remember back, when was that? Last
That was at
October?
the IQ.
Yeah, I think it was last October.
One.
Yeah, it's on our YouTube channel, so if you want to check that out, or I'll post a link to those. Good morning, Pin. But yeah, Max Turner won that tournament with jump tokens, and he was playing Armada Worm at the time. 13 minutes remaining in the round. And so, you're playing Armada Worm because it's a good card, and it just happens to have that synergy with the tokens.
Right.
In the world where Intentional Virtue is still good, 5/5 with Trample, Flash, Vigilance.
I think this is going to get better after rotation, but like right now, Restoration Eagle, with all the Enter the Battlefield effects, it's just better.
There's something else I wanted to talk about in the first one, but
it's hard to compare a 4-mana instant whenever there's Restoration Eagle in the format.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you're right. And it may be a card for after rotation. We'll just have to wait and see. Also, if anybody remembers, before we started talking, I said there's something else I was going to link to, and then I didn't have a pen to write it down, and now I've forgotten, so if anybody remembers. So what's the chat think of Old Advent? Hash Bean has been very specific, giving it a 3.8 out of 5. Have we talked about Flash Bounce Bear? I don't think we have.
I like Flash Bounce Bear. Because it's a mate. It's not, Flash Tiger or whatever, Flash Lion.
All right.
It's a mate.
I'm going to have to download some more of these because I don't have... People are talking about spoilers from the day, and I didn't get them all updated.
Don't talk about spoilers from the day. I haven't been on the computer yet.
Let's talk about this guy.
What's up? There's a guy with a kid over there. Little baby kid.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? How's your little one doing?
You want to come in here?
Yeah. We're going to be Steven. Hey, how are you doing? As we're now joined by a baby and Steven Fernandez.
First baby on the screen.
Baby. Hey guys.
Big news from Steve. Do you know Steven Fernandez is getting married?
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, I did.
Congratulations to Steven Fernandez.
Thank you.
Now I feel bad because I'm like hiding this as a baby's picture with.
It's okay. I'll just.
This is far more interesting than spoilers.
Any thoughts, Amelia?
Amelia's mostly like a blue-green tempo type player, right?
Right.
She's very excited. Every time I see her, she's just very docile. She's living a dream.
How's it going?
She like that. So we'll leave
New baby mechanic, yeah.
new baby mechanic. Let's talk about this Beck
Do we
call.
want to talk about the card, or we want to talk about the mechanic?
Okay, so the mechanic is basically very easy to talk about.
Right.
It's split cards from before, but now you have the option of casting both.
Right.
So it's just strictly better than all split cards from before.
Right.
It's not really so much a mechanic, it's just you can do this if you want to.
Right.
I'm trying to think.
SMGs.
I'm trying to think of a scenario in which you're like ever going to cast the call part of this.
Right.
No one's going to play this. They might as well just call it Beck and just leave the other side blank, except for limited.
Okay.
But like Beck, first of all, there's two things about this card. Number one, obviously, this Beck is basically a newer version of Glimpse of Nature. It's the same effect. That's all everybody's talking about is how this will make modern elves playable because they have banned Glimpse.
Yes.
But the second thing is that there are a lot of jokes about Beck the musician.
Right.
Or Jeff Beck, which I believe were you making a joke about Jeff Beck or Beck when you
Beck the musician.
Beck, okay, Beck.
Yeah.
2 turntables and a microphone.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
I wanted the
She
door
wants to take
handle.
over.
She hates, we talk about Beck's music and all of a sudden Amelia loses it.
I know.
He's a little bit
She's-
experimental.
She's more of a Daft Punk.
She's a Cotton fan.
She's a Skrillex fan.
Get her out of here.
Skrillex.
She's
no-
Skrillex.
There's no dubstep in the broom closet. We're exclusively indie rock and classic metal.
Classic metal. Okay.
Extort the Gravecrawler.
With our hit band, Extort.
Got some learning to do.
What's the band? Wolfyard? Was that the name of the...
Steven,
Steven, it was good to see you.
Good to see you.
That's exciting.
So, yeah, it's different from Glimpse, first of all, than
Because it
Glimpse is cast.
Glimpse
Beck-
triggers on cast.
Beck is Enter the Battlefield.
Beck is enter the battlefield. So if they counter it, it doesn't trigger.
Does Torf War stop this? Torf War says creatures don't cause abilities to trigger,
Mm-hmm.
so that would not stop Beck.
I don't think that's an ability, right?
Right.
It's some kind of different layering thing or something. I don't know. Which is interesting because the fact that it's come into play and not cast, the biggest difference would be if you're playing something like Green Sun Zenith.
Right.
ironically banned in the format.
Well, Restoration Angel isn't, again, I mean, I know I've mentioned Restoration Angel in Spoilers twice now.
You're not going to play Restoration Angel then. This card is only going to be played in Modern Elves. Like,
Right.
Cloudstone Curio is already, like, doubled in price or tripled in price. And, like, I don't know. Elves was, like, one card away from being playable as it was. Just with cycling Cloudstone Curio activations, bouncing your Visionary, and drawing your deck.
Cloudstone Curio as soon as this was spoiled?
Yeah.
It jumped up to like $12.
Yeah, like I said, it doubled or tripled in price.
Right.
So, this is a pretty obvious one. But I don't know. Like, Elves, like... as someone who plays Elves in Legacy, like, Glimpse of Nature is a tremendously powerful card. And in a deck like Elves, like, the extra blue mana is, like, relatively easy to get to with the mana base and not going to slow the deck down at all.
Right.
So you're definitely a turn 3 win deck still with that guy.
Is Zagana going to be playing in Elves since there's the blue in it now? Or just Crater Hoof and Regal Force?
Yeah, I can't imagine you would play anything other than Regal Force and Emrakul, maybe a Crater Hoof. Crater Hoof's not nearly as good in the deck that does a natural order for it, because most of the times to generate that massive amount of mana to cast it, most of your attackers are tapped.
Right.
So it's really going to depend on how much you can combo. You probably will still play it. What's the chat think about it?
It's good.
Yeah, it does combo with Chord of Calling. I guess that's a good point, because Chord, they did play Chord in Extended Elves. Combos with Pod. Pod is like really slow, but I don't know. I think this card's going to see a lot of play. I don't think it's going to see any standard play, but I think
I don't know. I'm going to back Pod off my Kitchen Finks draw card. Get a Restoration Angel draw card. Bounce my Finks draw card.
in that same spot, you could have just won the game with any number of Kiki-Jiki change. So good on you, Garrett. Have fun doing that. Well, everyone else will just be winning games. So let's bring up another spoiler. Let's bring up this lady, which I don't like at all, but I know Facebook likes, because when I was trying to talk about some other card, I said that all the other spoilers were hot garbage, and the Facebook page did not agree with that at all, because they love this lady. So it's Exava Rakdos Blood Witch, for those of you unfamiliar, although I would be very surprised if anyone is unfamiliar. Thematics for Dragon's Maze. Niv Mizzet makes a maze. Every guild gets to pick a champion. The champion goes in the maze, and whoever gets to the end of the maze gets something that will help them
and it's like,
rule.
And it's like a corn maze, where you get a trivia card, and you come up to the posts, and you have to decide whether to go left or right, but you have to answer the trivia question, which will tell you to go.
And much like the Labyrinth, David Bowie's at the end, and there's various Muppet challenges during the way, so you got to look out for those. But Exava is one of these champions. She is a Rakdos Blood Witch. She costs 4 mana. She's a 3/3. She has First Strike, Haste, and Unleash. And then each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has haste. So obviously the tie-in with the second ability here, or the last ability, is all of your undying creatures have haste. So you could sack them for profit.
Sagana has haste.
You can sack them for profit. You know, you can get rid of any number of undying creatures. You know, your whatever, and they come back, or you can cast any of your unleashed creatures. You can cast a Cackler on turn 5, and it has haste or whatever.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily relevant. Basically, it's a 4/4 hasty first striker.
Right.
Which is good, I guess.
Unless you compare it to other cards.
Yeah, you had to think of like the deck that it wants it in. Like, is this a better 4-drop than Huntmaster and Jund?
No.
I know it's a really different card.
Players, round 2 pairings are up.
Even JB is very loud today. But we'll talk a little bit more about Exava when we come back. Thanks, JB.
Oh, go from table 1 to table 12.
Dropping like flies. So as you hear, JB, the one good thing about having a lesser number of players is that we can move on to new rounds a lot quicker. So yeah, thank you for that. So we'll move into round 2 here. I'm going to step outside and try to find another feature match after everybody gets settled a little bit. Then we will be back for round 2, and then subsequent to that, we will be not only watching round 2, but we will be talking about some more spoilers. So if you want to talk about the Blood Witch there, hold your roll. We'll be back to that shortly. Like I said, I'm going to take a quick break, step outside. While I'm away, if you have not followed us on our various forms of social media, click those buttons at the bottom of the screen, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, so you can keep up to date on all the things that are happening here at the stream. I will be right back.